Hey everyone, today I'm going to be making a video about the 3 black crows trade I took to start off the year. And this is going to be a failed swing trade attempt. So I really want to jump into that and what that looks like. In my previous video, I showed a trade that worked out. But in this particular trade, with full transparency, I want to show a swing trade that doesn't work from the get-go. So jumping into it, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to hop back into TradeZella and really see what that looks like. So let me go ahead and pull this up for everyone to see. So jumping into TradeZella, the first thing I want to highlight is really what the 3 black crow strategy looks like. So really what it looks like is 3 consecutive bearish candles. And typically on this strategy, I will take it on the daily or the 4-hour, but mainly the 4-hour. I usually use a top-down approach, looking at the daily and the 4-hour for confluence, but all my trades are still taken on the 4-hour. This is what the 3 black crow strategy looks like. Really jumping into it, I'm going to highlight the first trade I took, which is Euro USD. We're going to look and see what the entry looked like and why I took the trade. Now jumping into it, on this trade, you can see on this third candle here at the 8 a.m. open on the 4-hour, right here is where my entry was taken. And my risk was set at 1.2%. So I believe in fixed risk and I do not change my stops once they're set. As soon as I define the risk and it's all set, I don't move anything at all. If I get knocked out of the trade, stopped out, totally fine. I'll accept the loss and it is what it is. But let me just jump into why I took this trade and the reason behind it. So looking at the strategy, this is a 3 black crows. We had a nice break of structure. To the downside, we opened up bearish. Now, another reason I like this is because we had broke structure above all these previous lows in this zone right here. Now, do I think that, of course, taking this trade, there's a potential risk to where we could sweep liquidity and pop back up? Yes, of course. But I'm not going to keep that in mind thinking that if that were to happen, pretty much I don't have a trade and I could just lose. I don't want to go into it from that thought process. I want to go into it from a thought process of I'm going to trade in probabilities and see what happens with this trade. And that's exactly what I did putting on this trade. I didn't hesitate. I had no reservation, put on this trade. But now let me jump into what happened in the aftermath of it. So on the exit of the trade, price did push down. We had a nice liquidity sweep in this zone. But as you can see near the bottom here, we actually had 3 white soldiers start to play out. Now, for me, I would have liked to see either this imbalance get filled and a nice push to the downside for continuation, or potentially in this imbalance zone here. But as soon as price had actually closed above this imbalance, that's really where my stop was at. I don't want to be in the trade anymore. So as you had seen, I had placed stops above that previous 4-hour candle, risking that 1.2%, knocked out of the trade. I accepted the loss. For me, I don't jump back in trades looking on continuing to see if it's going to be bullish. I like to sit out for a minute, journal and TradeZella, which I'm going to actually jump into in this video as well, and really see where the market will be moving next, if we're going to continue bearish or start a trend reversal. So that's typically what I like to do. Also on prop firms as well, where there's a max daily drawdown, I like that to reset for 24 hours before I do take a new position. It allows emotions to level out as well. But that was the trade setup for Euro USD. Didn't play out, and that's totally okay. Looking at this trade and the actual notes of the trade, I'm going to jump into that. So initial trade thoughts were I entered on my 3 crows. Price initially moved to the downside and swept liquidity, but bullish rally stopped me out. Was looking for price to continue rolling over, but bullish momentum was too strong. I stayed true to my rule of waiting at least 1 week before looking to manage the trade and trail stops. So I know a lot of you are watching this thinking, well, why didn't you just get out at break even? How come your stops were at break even? It looked like at that point you're up at least 80 pips. What happened there? For me personally, through my back testing, I don't put my stops at break even. I define the risk and I accept it. There are a lot of times where my trades will actually pull back into my initial entries and then continue moving in my favor. That's why I at least wait 1 week to see how it plays out. If it pulls all the way back, as you've seen in this trade, it stops me out, that's perfectly okay. With my strategy, I lose a lot. I only have a 44% win rate, not very high. But when I do win, I make a lot because I do go for those home run swing winners. And that's totally okay with me to have multiple losses in a row. So anyways, that's why I wrote that there. I accepted the risk of 1.2%. I defined it, accepted it, didn't move my stops. I'm okay to lose. I also write down my future trade enhancements. For this particular trade, there aren't any future trade enhancements that really come to mind. Typically, I do have future trade enhancements, but this one for me, total A+ setup. We broke down to the downside. Momentum started, didn't continue. Totally fine with me. I move on to the next trade, journal it, close the book. We're good to go there. Next trade I want to jump into is going to be my GBP USD trade. Very similar setup. I also risked 1.2% on this trade. Now, on this trade, you might be looking at thinking, well, it had already pushed down to the downside quite a lot. Why would you sell it all the way down there? Reason being is because there are times where the market can be way oversold. Just because the market is low never means it can't go any lower. So that's the reason why I took that trade. The strategy presented itself. To me, it was still an A+ strategy. We swept all these lows here. And on this third 4-hour candle, I entered at the 8 a.m. open looking for more potential downside. Now, I do see that the previous 4-hour candle did have quite some imbalance. So keeping that in mind there, I did want to put stops right above this area. I almost put stops right above it. It was a little bit lower than that, but for me, it was still around 1.2%, which is fine. And typically, I'm just looking for more continuation to the downside. There are times where if you look to the far left here, we can get in on a 3 crow and the market just continues to melt to the downside. On this particular trade, that didn't happen. We had something similar to Euro USD, not quite a sharp pop from the bottom, but we did sweep liquidity and came back up to the upside. On this trade here, you can see that when we did come into this major imbalance on the 4-hour, if price was going to continue rolling over, we probably would have hit about 50% of this imbalance and spilled over. Price closed exactly where my stops were at. Don't want to be in the trade anymore, and we pushed higher than that. I will look to re-enter if we continue to the downside on another 3 black crows, or if we're looking for more of a bullish market, I'll look for a 3 white soldiers potential entry. But that's really, in a nutshell, what these trades look like. For the journaling for this particular trade, it's relatively the same for the Euro USD trade I did take. And all in all, I risked about 2.4% on both trades. I know that with my strategy, that gives me 10 tries based on the start of this account in the new year. So going into my next trades, I will downsize the risk ever so slightly. But I know that for me, it only takes one winner to make back all of my losses and then some. But that is it really for these trades that I wanted to share with everyone. Lost 2.4% to start the year. Not a big deal there. But going forward, if you'd like to work with me, you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment on X or on YouTube. I'm really just a trader trading with you for the new year. I'd love to help you out. If you have any questions, we can work together. Maybe give you some pointers. Hey, I'm open to pointers as well. I'm definitely always a student, open to learning. And also too, I've been with Funding Pips since July of 2024. I do have a 5% code down in the link in my bio. So if you'd like to save money on a challenge for the new year and become funded with prop firms, go ahead and take full advantage of that. But anyways, hope everyone has a great week and a great month in January. Let's have a killer year and hope to talk with everyone soon.